Hi guys, and welcome to another kit review. Okay, so today we're having a look at a kit from the 1970s, actually 1975 to be precise. It is Tamiya's 1/35th scale US armored personnel carrier M3A2 half track. Okay, so yes, this is an old kit. Just recently picked it up. It cost me around about $35 thereabouts. Very hard kit to get a hold of. Normally when these appear on a certain auction site, they burn their way up to 70, 80 bucks easy. This one, I saw it, instantly bought it just like that before it went anywhere. Alright, I think it got put on site and I had it within 15 minutes. Just a fluke. Really happy with that. I do remember making this kit back in the 70s. Back then there was just a choice of this one or the, oh god, can't remember what it was, the Renwall or the Monogram half track back then, and this one stood out leaps and bounds. It has not been reproduced since. Right, like I said, this came out in 75. It was released by Tamiya in cooperation with two other suppliers rather than kit manufacturers. I think one was a MRC and the other one was Rico. I never remember seeing those ones. And then in 76 they released this as the mortar carrier. And even the mortar carrier one will go for around about $70–80 on eBay, just like that. Alright, so very hard one to come by. Right, interesting one to come by. This does get 9 crew figures. The seller I bought this off has used a couple of those figures, so we'll have a quick look at those, but we won't concentrate on those because they're not complete. What is complete though is the half track itself. Alright, so that's enough of me waffling on about this one. There's your standard 1975 Tamiya box art. White box, really nice artwork of the actual vehicle. You do get accessories with this. You do get stowage, mines, machine guns, etc. I believe Dragon does have one of these around, but they are quite expensive. Alright, so if you can pick one of these up cheap, well done. Okay, so that's the box art. Alright, let's have a look at the rest of it. Okay, so all Japanese. This is a history of the US half track, of course, naturally enough. There we go, 1975 copyright for Tamiya. On the other side we have, now these ones here are all 1970s Tamiya kits. I've done a review of that one, and I've done a review of this one. I don't actually have one of those, not yet anyway, and I do remember building one of those in the 70s. Okay, so as you can see, M113, black veiling. Okay, this one here is your 223 armoured car, and of course your horse personnel carrier. Alright, so that's the box. Let's see what I actually bought. So there are no decals in this kit, which doesn't faze me because there's plenty of aftermarkets I can use. The only instructions in this kit are in Japanese. That again is not going to be a problem because the only instructions that you can actually download from ScaleMates is in Japanese. What I always like is this bit. We'll have a look at those shortly anyway. Alright, so this is the sprues for the figures which have been used and partially painted. We'll have a look at those. He comes out the way. A couple of loose bits. One bag still sealed. Wheels, vinyl tracks, okay, etc. accessories. Next one is open, which is, as you can see, the seats, the internal body, machine gun ring, etc. and the sides. And the other one, which is still sealed, okay, is the what I call windscreen and the actual sides and front of the vehicle. Okay, and here we have a separate marking and sprue layout in Japanese, a warning, and that's it. Okay, so I'll get rid of the box, and in a second we'll have a look at the instructions, and then we'll have a look at the sprues. Okay, and yes, there is one other thing I forgot to mention. So this is a model of an M3A2. Okay, the M3A2 was only ever produced as a prototype. It was designed to combine the best parts of an M3 and an M2 half-track, the running gear, etc., into a much more efficient vehicle. However, the demand for half-tracks wasn't as much as they thought it was going to be. So the M3A2, which is this one, never moved beyond prototype stage, was never put into production. They just went ahead with the standard M3s, M2s, etc., and all the other variants. In all, they actually produced 53,000 of these half-tracks, okay, during and after World War II. Right, but not this particular model. So unfortunately, that's probably why Tamiya has not, possibly one of the reasons why Tamiya has not reproduced this particular half-track. I wish they would. I wish they'd bring out a proper M3. I'm sure by now there's plenty around in the world that they can base their models on. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that before we carry on with the review. I know some of you would probably already pick that up, but yes, this is literally the prototype vehicle for an M3A2 half-track. Okay, still going to be good with modifications, or if you just want to turn a slight blind eye for a diorama or just a shelf display, if you can find one. Anyway guys, let's get on with the show. Okay, instructions. Well, as you can see, it's all in Japanese. Alright, it is a comprehensive history of the half-track. 1970s Tamiya kits always had comprehensive history. You either got a full Japanese instructions and a full English. This one only has the full Japanese, which is not going to be a problem. I'm pretty sure I can work it out. Okay, then we carry on with the full history again. Alright, so that's really good. That's something I love about early 70s Tamiya kits. Okay, this is the unit organization of a standard armored infantry unit in the US Army. That's always a handy thing to keep around. And then we carry on to construction. So this will be usual warnings, etc. It's fairly straightforward construction. Chassis, exhaust pipe, okay, axles and hubs. Fairly easy. All got numbers. Alright. This is your running gear for the tracks. Okay. Idler wheel, drive sprocket, etc. Vinyl tracks. And these tracks here, it just shows that they twist together. They don't melt, they twist together. So that's very old school. Okay. Then we get to the front of the cab. It shows you cutting out the windscreen. So it is not a plastic windscreen as such. It is just your, I can never remember what they call that plastic kind of stuff that your brand new toothbrush comes in, that stuff. Okay, just the internals, controls, etc. Steering wheels, steering column, instruments going in the front, tools, etc. going on the front of the vehicle, and you do get a choice between open and closed. Grill on the front, alright, closed to protect the engine, open to let it cool. Then you get to the internal. Alright, there are colour call-outs, but of course they're in Japanese. Pretty sure I can work this one out. It's just internet references more than anything else. Sides go on. Fittings for the sides. Front seats. Okay. Then the sides and the whole body gets put together, including the door. And if you wanted to, you could leave that door open if you want. This shows you painting of the actual figure. These are your racks for your accessories, etc. on the sides and on the back. Front doors go on. So yeah, you could even leave that front door open if you wanted to. It shows here that with the front door, you make a cut line here and then you fold the upper armoured plate down so you can see inside. Alright, machine gun mount for the 50 caliber, side mounts for your 30 calibers, including painting. Okay, and then this is your figure painting. So the red ticks are the figures that are actually in this particular kit. These two figures here have been used by the previous owner. That doesn't faze me in the least. Okay, you do get a radio set to fit in the back, and then this just shows you exactly where the figures are supposed to sit in the actual half track. Alright, and then we get to that. So moving from those instructions to these. So this is your sprue layout, and on the other side this is the markings and painting. Okay, so as I said, this particular kit doesn't have the markings in it. I've already had a look online, and I do have some aftermarkets on the way, so not a problem there. Okay, so that's the instructions. In a second we'll have a look at the sprues. Okay, so let's have a look at the sprues. Alright, so this is your first one. Alright, so this, as you can see, is the sides of the front, the bonnet, the driver figure, the front doors, front grille, okay, open, closed, and the main body of the front, plus controls, etc. Okay, so interestingly, and I'll turn this around so you can see, there is no copyright date on these sprues at all, which is unusual. Okay, so the kit number for this is 35070. Okay, the original kit number was MM180. So at some stage this kit has been reissued, or no, I wouldn't say reissued, but probably at the same time, 1975. There's been a changeover of numbers, it's been renumbered, and they've taken these off, but this has not been, as far as I can find out, this kit particularly has not been reissued singly since 1975. So it is interesting, there is no copyright. Anyway, let's have a look. So there's some really nice, considering the age, bolt detail on that. The tools don't look too heavy. Okay, really quite good. This is your driver figure. Okay, and for a 1975 kit, detail on the driver isn't too bad at all. There's your doors, and again some nice bolt detail. You've got tread plate pattern inside. Seats even have a canvas kind of texture on them. There's the front, and yes, there's the radiator inside, which is really good. Again, nice detail, and yes, even though this is a 75 kit, alright, there's your instruments, There's no flash. There's a bit of mold line to clean up, but very little flash, typical of most Tamiya kits. Okay, so that is the front of the half track, and that looks really nice. Next sprue, and again there is no copyright on this sprue, is, as you can see, the sides, the interior, the 50 cal mount, the back, the seats, etc. for inside, the side racks and other accessories. These are your back racks, etc. Okay, so let's have a look at those. Okay, so there is your 30 calibers. Okay, so I can see a bit of flash on those, and yes, that one there does need a bit of cleanup. All right, and you would drill those out, at least the holes in the end, possibly not the holes on the barrels though. There's your tread pattern for the inside. There's your 50 caliber. Okay, yes, you drill the end of the barrel out, or you could just replace it with an aftermarket. It is an old kit after all. Unusually, as you can see, the sides have the white star already marked there. Okay, so when it comes to painting, that's easy. Since this kit doesn't actually have the decals in it, that at least gives me a pretty good thing. I can probably paint that in by hand very carefully. That won't be too hard. There's the back. Again, really nice detail. Accessories, radios, etc. Your seats, and as you can see by the seats, they do have a cloth texture, so to speak, indents at least. There's your side racks. Okay, that's your back door with really nice hinge detail. So for a 70s kit, and as you can see, there's not very much flash on that whatsoever. Little bit of cleanup on the 30 cals, or you could just go for aftermarkets. Okay, so next sprue for the vehicle is the running gear. Chassis, wheel hubs, etc. Okay, all your idlers and road wheels, and just your suspension parts for the main running gear. Let's have a look. Yep, so you've got leaf spring detail there. That's quite nice spring detail on that suspension component. Those are your main wheel hubs, idler wheel, etc. Some nice bolt detail. So for a 70s kit, alright, it doesn't have a separate engine. That's the engine there. Alright, there's very little flash. There will be the usual cleanup around the mold lines, but it does show up really well. Okay, so the sprue itself is in all the vehicle sprues, and in a very dark, what I would call almost olive drab colour. But naturally enough, once you paint this up in the correct colours, bit of weathering and stuff, this vehicle will turn out really nice, even if it did come out in 1975. Okay, so that's the last vehicle sprue. The next one I'm going to show you is the tyres. So the tyres are vinyl, the tracks are vinyl. It does have, as you can see, polycaps, because as with most early kits from Tamiya, this was a runner. And it does have, I don't know if I can get it focused for you. Alright, it does have the name on the tyres for the manufacturer. Okay, so that's nice detail. That's the tread on the tyres. Not much cleanup on that. So I do suspect at some stage this has been reissued, but because there's no date apart from the copyright on the box, I really can't tell you when. So I'm going to have to go with the copyright on the box, which is 1975. You will have to clean up the mold line on the tyres, but that's normal for all vinyl tyres. Okay, so that's the vehicle. Let's have a look at the figures. Alright, so as I said, not all the figures are here, so I'm missing 2 figures. So they have been, painting has been started on this kit. They're 1975 figures. There's a bit of flash to be cleaned up, especially around the mold lines, and I would probably use these as background figures and replace them with some aftermarkets, newer dragons or master box or mini art or something like that. Although, I mean, his ears look way too big. Okay, so you got to remember this is a 1975 kit. Alright, but you can still get away with these figures. Alright, the faces and things are not so bad. But yes, as you can see, there is a figure missing there and a figure missing there. But that really doesn't worry me. Alright, so the next sprue is the other figure sprue, and this one is complete. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4 figures on here: stowage, radios, weapons, mines. So let's have a look. Again, there is flash around the mold lines, etc., to clean up. So it's not as clean, and I'll turn that around so you can see their faces. Okay, so the faces are not that bad. You could quite easily get away with these. Yes, they're not dragon or whatever. They're not 2020 figures. These are 1975 figures, but they're still not too bad. Let's have a look at the weapons. So everyone in this half track is armed with M1 Garands. So the detail, you could get away with that. Not too bad. Paint that up correctly, especially 35th scale, you won't notice. Stowage, even that, you paint that stowage up correctly, put a wash over it once it's painted, it'll bring it out really nicely. The details are not too heavy, quite nice. Don't know about the mines. Yes, you could throw a few mines on this thing, but I'd probably be loading it down with a lot of stores and stowage and things. As you see, a lot of half tracks. We're carrying a lot of stuff. Okay, so that is the second figure sprue. So as I said, it's not complete, but it gives you a good idea of what you got with the kit. So you got 9 figures with this kit, which is not too bad. And that, hang on, one little bit I've got to show you. Almost forgot. If you see that, I'd be looking at probably a replacement for that. That does have marks on it already, and as you can see, it does say MM. Okay, MM was always the designation for 1970s Tamiya kits. Alright, so this, while being adequate, is not ideal, and I'd be looking at some sort of replacing that, especially as it already has a mark on it that I can't get rid of. Alright, that's indents on the actual surface, so unfortunately I can't use that. Right, and that's it, guys. That is Tamiya's M3A2 half track from 1975. Okay, still a good kit. If you can pick one of these up, and they are very hard to get, definitely, especially if you can pick it up cheap. It really bugs me that this vehicle, which was produced in the thousands and thousands, has not been remade by Tamiya since 1975. Alright, yes, I know Dragon has brought out IDF half tracks, and I believe they do actually have a US Army half track, but that's the only one, and they're very limited. I would love to see Tamiya bring this out with new figures, new parts. Alright, if they can keep reissuing their German Hanomag, no reason why they can't keep reissuing this one. After all, these were just as popular as the Hanomags. Okay, so anyway, sorry about the ramble. Alright, it is disappointing that these were not a continuous issue. So, as usual, guys, that's it for this one. I hope you did get something from it, and thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and as usual, until next time, take it easy, stay well, and I'll see you later.